For this design which you are working on, this particular one in the video, I made use of raw silk fabric 1 yard and sequence fabric half yard. But then I made another design again, and when I made the second design, I made use of shiny poly fabric still 1 yard and sequence fabric half yard, and it came out very fine. And I even loved the outcome of the of the shiny poly fabric more when compared to that of the raw silk fabric. This is to say that you can combine any two different fabric of your choice. Now, this design which you are working on has the V-shaped multi-pleated band. The base is made up of the raw silk fabric and the sequence fabric. It has the round pleated frame which has the raw silk fabric inside, the sequence fabric outside. Then it is padded with wadding. It has 2 handles at the edge for tying, and then finally it has this ruffles design in front. So that's it. Now coming to the fabric for the band, we'll be needing 2 different pieces of fabric for the band, and I'm going to be making use of 14 inches by 14 inches. Both the length and the width are 14 inches. That is it for the band. Coming over to the fabric for the width, the raw silk fabric is 27 inches by 14 inches, as well as the sequence fabric 27 by 14 inches. The raw silk fabric will be inside and the sequence fabric will be outside. Now, coming to the fabric that we are going to be using to create the ruffles design, we need this very long piece of fabric. The length is the full length of the fabric, 60 inches by the width, which is 8 inches, 60 by 8 inches. This is what we are going to be using to create the ruffles design that is going to be sitting in front of the round pleated frame. So that is it. We also have the fabric for the handle, of which you'll be needing 2 different pieces of fabric. The measurement is 12 inches for the length by 5 inches for the width, 12 by 5 inches. Moving on to the fabrics for the round pleated frame, we're needing 6 different pieces of our sequence fabric and 6 different pieces of our raw silk fabric. The measurement is going to be 28 inches for the length by 3.8 inches for the width, 28 by 3.8 inches. And then for the wadding, which we are going to be used to be padding the design, we'll also be needing 6 pieces, and it's going to be on fold. The length is going to be 26 inches and the width is going to be either 1.4 inches or 1.5 inches. That is, okay, let's just say from 1.3 to 1.5 inches, because it depends on your sewing allowance. And then the fabric for your wadding should be on fold. It's going to be 26 inches because while passing your wadding inside your fabric, it is going to stretch out small, and at the end of the day you will even be having more than 26 inches in length. Now starting the tutorial proper, I have the first 2 pieces of fabric which is going to be for my V-shaped band, and I'll start by folding it in just like you see me doing the video, and I'll fold it down again, then sew it from one end to the other before flipping over to the fine side, and then I'll go ahead to keep making my pleats, and as I pleat my fabric I'll sew it down. I'll pleat it, sew it down until I get to the end of the fabric, and then I'll also have to repeat the same thing for the second piece of fabric that I have. Now I've gone ahead to have my fabric sewn, and after sewing, this is how it looks like. So that's my V-shaped pleated band. I will get one and place on each other just as you see me doing, and have my pin to hold it down in the middle so as to give me that V-shaped pattern. And that is it. So as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead to set this aside while I get the fabric for the base. Now getting the fabric for the base, I have the raw silk fabric. I will fold it into 2, then get my scissors to make a notch at the middle so as to be able to locate it easily. I will also have to repeat the same thing for my sequence fabric. So I'll also get my sequence fabric, fold it into 2 equal halves, and then make a notch at the middle too. And that's what I'm trying to do right here in the video. As soon as that has been done, I will get my sequence fabric on my working surface and have it with the fine side facing me. So that's me setting it in place. I'll get the fabric for my band, my V-shape band, fine side facing fine side as you see in the video. And then finally I will get the raw silk fabric with the fine side facing the sequence fabric, and I'll place it there. Now I'll take this to my sewing machine and sew around the 4 edges, but leave a little bit of allowance at one edge. Now I have my fabric sewn, and I also left the allowance at that edge for turning my fabric inside out. So remember, I have the sequence on one side and the raw silk fabric on one side. I will go back to turn this inside out and get back. As soon as I'm done turning my fabric inside out, this is the front view with my sequence fabric, and that's the back view, the inner part of the cap with my raw silk fabric. Now I'm folding it into 2 equal halves, and then I'm going to sew it down from the band to the end of the cap. Now please, I'm done sewing, but if you see the way my cap is, it has been shaped. That's because I first of all took measurement of the band to ensure I have about 23 inches, then I cut off the excess. That's to ensure that I wanted my cap to have a backdrop effect and the cap to be a bit tight. As soon as that is all done, what I'm doing right now is making a running stitch, and this comes immediately after the band. I'll do that to the end. Right here I have my turban cap. I'm done making my running stitch and I'm flipping it over to the fine side. So this is my V-shaped turban cap with my sequence base. Moving on to the padded frame, get your raw silk fabric and get your sequence fabric. Now remember, there are about 6 pieces each, which is total of 12. Now for each piece of fabric, fold it into 2 equal halves with the fine side inside and the wrong side outside. Then you place on your sewing machine and sew them from one end to the other, one after the other. So you are sewing your sequence fabric separate and sewing that of your satin fabric separately. After sewing, you will have your each of the fabric this way. Then you go ahead to turn the fabric inside out and it come out like this. So turn each piece of fabric, both the sequence and the satin fabric. Then you go ahead to pass your wording inside your satin fabric, and after passing your wording inside your satin fabric, you go ahead to pass it inside your sequence fabric, so that at the end of the day you have your wording inside your satin fabric and your sequence and your satin inside your sequence fabric. So this is mine. I've already done it behind the scene and I have about 5 or 6 pieces here. So what I'll do is to start coupling it one after the other. I'll start arranging it one after the other so that I can go ahead to tack it down to get the pleated frame. And then for tacking, I will be making use of my needle and thread to do that. Now when it comes to tacking this together, there's no special method to follow. All you have to do is to ensure that you tack it firmly in place together. Your tacking is neat and your stitchings are invisible. So just watch the video. Even though I had to fast forward it a bit, just take your time. You really get how the tacking went. I was just trying to decrease the duration of the video. Another thing to note while tacking is you don't put your sequence fabric in a straight form. No, it will not sit on the head. So as you're tacking, you have to be folding it in a round shape so as to get that round shape of the pleated frame, and it can sit like it can go round the head, or better still place on your lap and tack down. But I don't like stacking down my lap. I prefer working on my table, so I just try to use my hand to fold and bend it all the way so as to get that round shape. Meanwhile, as soon as all that tacking has been done, I have my round pleated frame here. I also have my turban cap. Then another set of tacking is going to begin. I'll try to locate the middle of my round frame and also get the middle of my turban cap, and then I'll place one on each other. That is the round frame on my turban cap, ensuring that both the middle, that is the middle of the frame and the cap, aligns together, and I will go ahead to start stacking again. Please, I'm going to fast forward the video a bit. So I start stacking from the middle to the end of the cap, and as soon as I get to the end, I stop and then come back to the middle again, tack from the middle to the right side, of the cap. At this point, I'm done tacking both sides down to my turban frame, and this is how you can see the neatly pleated frame. As for the edges, I've gone ahead to trim the excess allowance, and then I'm going to be getting the fabric for the handle, which we are going to be adding to it to create the handle. For my handle, get each piece of fabric, fold it into 2 equal halves with the fine side inside and the wrong side outside, and then sew down from one end to the other end. Then you can try to shape the edge a bit. So I'm done sewing. I've turned my fabric inside out. Now I'm going to get each piece of the fabric for the handle. I'll fold in the edges so as to avoid fraying, and go ahead to add that both edge of the pleated frame inside and then tack it down. Okay, as soon as I'm done adding the handle, I went ahead to place this on my dummy head. This is my Sequins Turban Cap with the round frame and the handle for tying. So you can see how beautiful the pleats are and how it came out to be. Next thing we're going to be working on is the ruffles design. Now for my ruffles design, I have my fabric. Remember, it's the full length of the fabric by 8 inches. You fold into 2 again, sew down from one end of the fabric to the other end, and after sewing, you turn your fabric inside out. Now this is my already sewn fabric, which has been turned inside out. And then to create the ruffles design, we're needing a needle and thread, because we'll be creating a running stitch at the middle of the fabric. So here's my fabric. I will start by folding in the edge of my fabric. I can decide to fold it in and then go back to sew it, or I skip that part. Okay, that depends on you. Sewing it will be better. Now I'll get my needle and thread, and then I will start making my running stitch. So I have my fabric here. I later went back and had this edge sewn, so you just sew it down. Then I'll start passing my needle and thread in and out. Now what we're going to be doing is I'll be making a running stitch through the middle of the fabric from one end of the fabric until we get to the other end. So that's what I'm going to be doing now. So this is it. On getting to the end, I'll pull my fabric until I have this. So this creates my ruffles design, and then I'm going to get my turban cap. This is it. My pleated frame to the handle ready, and I'll get my ruffles design. Okay, so I'll just go ahead to secure the thread and cut off the excess thread. Now I'm going to be placing this ruffles design on one side of my pleated frame. So you can try to place it on your right and on your left side, then start from the middle towards wherever it ends. Now all that is left to do is tack both of them together. Now you either tack or you glue down. You can get your needle and thread, and then I have my pins here, so I'll just get my pins to hold it down like this and like this. Then I can get my needle and thread and just tack it here. Just select different spots to tack it, or better still, to make it much more faster and easier, I'll just get my candle gum and glue gun. As I've tacked it down like this, I'll just apply my gum. Place my fabric on it and allow this to get dried, or apply pressure so I can get dried, and voila, that's all. So I'll go back to complete this and get back to show us the final outlook.